Picture with me as we stroll down memory lane. It's the day after Christmas 2007. I'm visiting my paternal grandmother at her house in upstate New York, freshly falling in love with Transformers. The first movie was already mine back home at my mom's, and I was deciding what figures to get once the festivities were over. So I'm sitting there watching Cartoon Network while the adults talk, and I see, listed on my grandmother's DirecTV, the full hour-and-a-half long pilot for Transformers Animated. Essentially a TV movie of more Transformers that'll spin into a new cartoon. I was stoked. And after watching it, I was hooked. You know, I mentioned before that Transformers Animated is my #1 all-time favorite Transformers cartoon. Yet for some reason I've barely done any reviews talking about it. It is downright criminal that it has not been talked about nearly enough on this channel. So today, for the big 100th Transformers review, we're going to be taking a look at all 5 of the main Autobot cast. Bulkhead, Bumblebee, Ratchet, Prowl, and Optimus Prime. This is huge. And we're going to take a look at the vehicles first, then transform them and talk about their robot modes individually later on. The vehicles themselves are exactly what you'd expect. They are very accurate to the show. And again, you expect it, but it wasn't like Cybertron, where the toys were designed first and the models for the show were based on them. Nope, Hasbro and Takara just did a great job at getting the figures right. And they all look pretty good. They might have a few blemishes here and there, like these hinges on the outside of Ratchet. They're minor, so they don't bother me that much. The most inaccurate one is Bulkhead, and as you can see, I'm using the Leader class version rather than his Voyager class. Sure, that one might have the smooth designs that match the other figures, as well as not having these extra weaponry on the side and the top, but they honestly look pretty good to me, so I'm not gonna pass on this. Not to mention the lights and sounds. Now, some of them do have accessories that can go with them in their vehicle mode, like Bumblebee's turbo boosters. And Optimus's weapons can be the back of the vehicle mode that kind of looks like the fire truck mode with the full extended cab at the back. It has the details on it so that way it can at least make it look similar to it. Plus, the gun at the back here is very cute. But some figures came with accessories that don't go with their vehicle mode. Like Prowl here came with a traffic light on a string, and Ratchet here came with tools that didn't have a place to go inside the van. Whatever, I don't have the accessories for these guys anyway, so it doesn't matter. Bulkhead also came with another accessory, but we'll take a look at it more in robot mode. But yes, overall the vehicles look fantastic. Even if Prowl is way too damn big for a motorcycle. Seriously, if he's supposed to be in scale, then he's supposed to be about here. But now it's time to get into the good stuff, that is the robot modes. Hit it! Transformers, holding meets the eye. That theme song makes me so happy I can't even describe it. So here are the robot modes, and there's a lot more to go over here than their vehicle modes. Especially that now you can see even more that I did a little paint work on all of them. Picking out details on them that just make them look that much better. Most of them didn't need much, just a few things here and there. But what was needed makes them look even cooler in my opinion. We'll take a look at all 5 of them, with a few fun bits here and there in between. Starting with Ratchet. And it's here that we can see that the old bot can still rock with the best of them. Because yes, while the figure is depicted with a 5 o'clock shadow and the front of the car is giving him much of a gut, a lot like me, this toy is still an immense amount of fun. So much so that it actually surprised me. Because I never actually had this figure until I went back completionist style to get all the animated figures I wanted. And now that I do have him, I love him. They even gave him the broken headpiece. My biggest gripe is that the legs kind of buckle inwards here, but it's for transformation. All you gotta do is just really keep them straight out. They'll hold for the most part, but one good knock and they'll go in. It's not that big a deal. He still has a great amount of articulation all over him. Even with these big pieces of shoulder kibble, which are accurate, and the backpack that he has. He even has opening hands and a thumb on a Deluxe. Not only are there to wrap around these things that once you bend the elbow, they spring forward. Apparently these are supposed to be the magnets, but they don't look right at all. In fact, I don't know what the hell these are. It ain't it, Chief. So what does one do in this situation other than make some magnet pieces of my own? Now he looks a hell of a lot better with these. They don't clip into anything and they're made of very flimsy material, but I still love them and they look really good. It's really hard to compare this guy to his Cybertron mode because they're both so different. That's why I'm really glad I have the Ironhide version of the mold, because it does feel like a different character. And he also came with little defibrillator pieces that were also inaccurate, but those are somewhere else. I don't know where they went. One thing that both versions of the mold can do is that if you have lockdown, you can take the EMP generator and put it on either version of the mold. And yes, as you can see, I picked out this one in paint because it needed it.
You want me to use that EMP to make your pain go away? This was a medical tool meant to heal. You turned it into a weapon.
Now let's move on to Prowl. And this is the original version of the old Ninja Bot. Because I used to have Samurai Prowl, and technically I still do with a custom Tron figure I made. But I'm pretty sure I gave the Samurai sidecar to Larry. It's okay. I'm extremely happy with this figure. Prowl didn't always need armor and a sidecar to be cool, he just always was. And this figure can pose like crazy. Even in comparison to the Legacy figure, he still comes out on top. And while I may not have his traffic light weapon, we can still come down here to both of his legs, pull this guy right out of there, and he still has his ninja stars that can even automorph out a little bit. All you gotta do is grab yourself a Jazz figure and they can duke it out with their cyber ninja training.
Mind if we watch something that won't bore us into stasis lock? Don't be such a stiff, Prowl. Oh wait, I forgot. You're all about stillness.
You should try it sometime.
Now we're gonna move onward to the big guy, Bulkhead. And again, more evidence as to why I chose this version of the character rather than the Voyager class. It's all in the size. Part of me wishes I did have the Voyager class figure because there are some things that that figure does that this figure can't. For one thing, the Voyager had an actual wrecking ball, while this figure has a saw blade that you can spin. At least this one still also has an opening hand. So you can grab a little paintbrush and paint a nice picture. But yes, sadly, if you want to do the whole bit of
Bumblebee, my wrecking ball's stuck again.
You'll need the Voyager figure. But that's pretty much where the gripes end, because I still very much love this figure. The size, the look, it's accurate, it's beautiful. Plus he has an opening jaw with lights and sounds if you press on the Autobot badge again.
Sorry, my bad. Time for the big guns. Do it, buddy.
Plus it's so cool in his transformation that you get the transformation sound. God damn it. He still has really good articulation in all of his limbs, and he can actually do the whole sit-down thing. That's hilarious. And I mentioned that he came with an accessory that we will now talk about in robot mode. He comes with the Headmaster unit. You just slide this guy over top of the head, so that way he's taken over, and it gives him a different sound. Transformers has some crazy ideas, but anime took them in a completely different direction, and I love it. Now, unfortunately, this cannot go over Sentinel or Starscream very easily, but it can go over the other two leader class figures, so there is that at least.
Prowl, Bulkhead, step away from Wasp. Innocent or not, he may still be dangerous.
Oh, it's okay. He's Bumblebee. I know because I pushed a wall on Sentinel and he told me.
What he means is, Wasp seems to have swapped places with Bumblebee.
I don't care! Arrest them all and let Ultra Magnus sort them out!
And now we'll take a look at his little buddy, Bumblebee. Now, I may have a bias since I've had an animated Bumblebee figure since it first started coming out. But I love this thing so much, and I think he truly is one of the best of the whole line. I love that he got an update in Legacy. It may be small, but it's incredibly well done. And while this guy might seem a bit too tall, he's still a lot of fun. If you want to have an animated lineup that's based purely on size, you can always go with the Activators Bumblebee, or one that I've always wanted to try out, the Jetpack Bumblebee. I'm pretty sure I bought one for Larry and sent it his way, but I never got the chance to try it out. Either way, I still am in love with this figure. And he holds a very special place in my heart because I have a story. I do still technically have my original Transformers animated Bumblebee. So one night when I was younger, my older brother and I were having an argument. At some point, he decides he's going to go into my room, grab one of my figures, and he's going to throw it out the back door hard against the fence. Pieces went everywhere, and it took me a while to find everything because this was back before I had a cell phone, let alone one with a flashlight on it. And at the time, I didn't even find all the pieces. His head was just gone. Now, eventually, I was able to replace Bumblebee, but I couldn't bring myself to throw the other figure away. So, I made a head and made a custom. Funny enough, about a year after that incident happened, we have this essentially dirt lot next to my mom's house. Anyway, I was talking on the phone with a friend, and while walking around, I found Bumblebee's head. So I painted it, cut the horns off, put it on the bottom of his chin, and made a hot glue head crest piece. So now that very first Bumblebee is Wasp. Now again, this character finally got a toy with the Legacy reprint in Age of the Primes, but I couldn't bring myself to throw this away. It was one of my very first customs, if not my very first one. Bits fall off him constantly. This arm does not want to stay on with anything. He's broken, he can't move his head, but by God, I love him so much. And don't tell me that these two don't look cool together.
Hey, Blitzbrain! Is that your jet mode, or did your pal Lugnut dump out some spare parts? How come you have 3 faces? Couldn't decide which was the ugliest? And who uses ice as a weapon? Oh wait, what are you, a refrigerator?
You want heat? I'll give you more than you can handle! All flag!
And now we come to the one, the only, Optimus Prime. This figure, this character, again, might be a bias, but I love him so much. You see everything that the animated show and toy line is with this figure. The forward-leaning stance, the dynamic look, the chin a little bit. It's all here on display, and it's wonderful. I love that they gave him the mouthplate gimmick. It's hard to have an Optimus Prime without a mouthplate, but he didn't have it for most of the show, and quite frankly, I kind of prefer him without it. Now, the chunk from the back of the vehicle mode can open up and make this. It's supposed to be an axe and a removable gun. This is not show accurate in the slightest. It's an attempt, but God. And he never had a gun, but he did have wrist things, and you can kind of treat it like one of those. That being that you can come to the bottom here, pop this little plastic bit out and fill it with water, and it's a squirt gun. We don't see gimmicks like this anymore. But if you do want a show accurate axe, the Deluxe figure has you covered. The Deluxe Earth mode. The Cybertron mode, it does have an axe that does kind of look like this, but it's small, and really I wanted to give him this. Now that is an axe worthy of Optimus. There are many different Transformers animated Optimus Prime figures, whether you go with the Cybertron mode, the Deluxe, or even the Legacy version, but this figure right here, I can't get enough of. Not to mention the other gimmick this figure has, which is the spinning waist and the transformation. There's really only one way that this figure could be even better, and that would be with the Takara Wingblade jetpack. If I ever got that figure, I'd probably weep with joy.
Optimus Prime, you are under arrest for assaulting an elite guard officer. Add that to the other charges against you, and you could just kiss your career goodbye. Now what do you have to say for yourself?
Incoming!
What is that thing?
Oh, that's right. You've never seen one up close. It's called a Decepticon.
And that is the main 5 Autobot team. These 5 characters not only help solidify my love not only for the show, but with Transformers in general. Some of these characters are even my preferred version in overall Transformers lore. And the toys for them, and all the animated toys that I'm lucky enough to own, are wonderful in their own ways. And clearly the show is still beloved by fans to this day, with all the legacy figures that we're getting of characters. Not to mention Key and Carlisle coming out with multiple comic books from old Season 4 stories. Hell, even after the show ended, it still had its own BotCon set, with its own exclusive comic and box set that's still vastly sought after to this day. If I ever am lucky to get that set, or just even the figures from that set, I'll be grateful. At least I have the comic and the memories of going to BotCon 2011. The incredible art style made by the wonderful Derek J. Wyatt, may he rest in peace. The amazing voice cast for every single one of these characters. And the fresh new take on this franchise that we love that has solidified it as one of the best that ever was, in my opinion. These are the reasons why Transformers Animated is my #1 Transformers cartoon. It has from day one, and always will, have my love. Alright? That is my 100th Transformers reveal. Thank you all so much for sticking with me through all these years. for watching me, for enjoying me, and for giving me the opportunity to even do all of this in the first place. I may be a very small channel, but god damn it, I love what I do. Thank you all very much for watching. This has been 01 Trans Fan, and I'll see you all next time.